Hi friends, in this video I will touch upon a simple modification of the Wong sandwich hydration technique for leaky clear corneal incisions, and this technique was described by my colleague Dr. Ramesh Duriraj. Case number 1, this was the reason why the clear corneal incision became leaky. While injecting the intraocular lens into the eye, it got delivered across the clear corneal incision, and considerable amount of effort was made to push it through this clear corneal incision into the anterior chamber. You can see that I'm using the visco cannula itself and slowly hitching the IOL across into the anterior chamber. This maneuver was successful in getting the intraocular lens into the eye, but it also created damage to the collagen fibers of the clear corneal incision. There's also a slight amount of wound burn that you can see in the clear corneal incision. The cornea is made up of primarily collagen, and collagen will withstand a stretch to a certain extent, but when you stretch it beyond a certain point, then this collagen stretch refuses to recover. At the end of the case, I am trying to stromal hydrate, and I find that there is a leak of fluid to the central part of the clear corneal incision. Try as I may to perform stromal hydration to the two edges of the clear corneal incision, I still could not get this wound to seal and close. This would of course require a suture, but there is one more technique that you can employ, and this was described by Dr. Michael Wong. This is the conventional Wong's pocket, where a small pocket incision is made in the clear cornea. This is a blind pocket made just above the incision. The pressure points here are that because of the hypotenuse eye, it's quite difficult to create this pocket, and once having created this pocket, very difficult to inject fluid into the substance of the stroma through this pocket, as the cannula tends to keep slipping through the main incision into the eye. It is better therefore to use a beveled cannula which is angled at right angles to the stroma to inject fluid, and once I got this sandwich hydration, I was able to seal this wound quite well. This is an intelligent way of doing the Wong's pocket incision, and that is, you create the blind pocket initially just before you take the clear corneal incision. Because the eye is well pressurized at this point, it's quite easy to create this pocket, and then underneath this pocket you create the clear corneal incision. And after you complete the case, it's quite simple to inject a little amount of fluid into this pocket that you have created in the beginning itself, in order to create a sandwich hydration or the stromal hydration that will collapse the roof of the clear corneal incision and hydrate it, and therefore it will be more effective in sealing this clear corneal incision. And therefore a simple modification that was described by Dr. Ramesh Duriraj, I'd like to explain to you at this point. So this was a case which took a considerable amount of time. It was a small pupil, a reasonably hard cataract, and I had to resort to the use of pupil dilating Gupta ring. The phacoemulsification is completed. The ring is then removed from the eye. And I found that with all the manipulations that was made, this clear corneal incision showed a little amount of wound burn in the center, and it was difficult for me to collapse this incision with simple stromal hydration. So the conventional Wong's pocket can be performed by creating a blind pocket. But this again, as I told you, would be difficult because the eye is hypotenuse, and it's quite difficult to make this clear corneal cut with the keratome in a hypotenuse eye. So this is where the modification comes in, and this modification is quite ingenious. What Dr. Ramesh has suggested is that you inject into the stroma at the roof of the clear corneal incision, but you use a 26 gauge or a 30 gauge needle. You don't have to create the pocket. You just take a 30 gauge needle, The needle goes into the stroma, a little amount of fluid is injected, and then when you hydrate to the side port, you find that the wound is well formed. So this modification will make it simple for almost every one of us to seal a clear corneal incision. In future, try it, and it's really going to come in handy. Thank you for your attention.